Pod Go. Saw it at NAMM and now I have one. Fixing to unbox it and start programming it. I'm used to all the Pod products after all these years, so shouldn't be any problem. I've got the Helix HX effects for my amps, so I use that already, so I kind of know the lay of the land. Of course, I've used pods forever, and I'm currently on a Pod X3 Pro in my rack that I use every weekend. So this is going to be my lightweight portable thing that I can take with me and maybe even replace my rack versions and just do this. And maybe even through the headrush cabinets that I have. So let's check it out. All right, here's the box. As usually it's packed awesome. There's the power brick. The only thing that I don't dig about this thing is the external power supply. There it is. Pretty small. Almost like I'd say 3/4 of the size of my Pod XT when I first got my Pod XT 10 years ago or more. I like it. Very small. Cool. All right, there it is. It's so amazing that you can do all of that stuff in this little thing. I mean, now with one hand I can carry my entire guitar rig, 50 freaking pedals and a wah pedal, volume pedal. That's one of the things I like about this better than the FM3 is it comes with the integrated wah pedal, which I really like to tap the toe switch. All right, welcome back to Final Resonance TV. Hadn't done a video in a while. Been pretty busy just trying to make a living playing guitar in the middle of COVID, which has been very difficult. But I have been working with the Pod Go for about 3 months, 2 or 3 months. I've had it. First of all, of course, I did a bunch of programming and downloading of different people's presets that they made, and trying to get, kind of a quick start going. So I took it to my first gig, and of course it never translated that well through my ears, which I fought with all gig and continued to tweak it on the spot and between sets, trying to get it closer and closer and closer to what I wanted. Let me just kind of preface this with, I'm a Line 6 user. I've been a Line 6 user and fan since I bought an HD 147 head a long time ago, which is, around the same time as the Veta. I had the Kidney Bean. I still have the little tiny one you carry around, the Pocket Pod. I have that as a backup in my bag. I have an XT Live. X3 Pro was my main rig for the last 10 years. I found a model in there called Spinal Puppet, which was also mirrored in the Pod Farm software. And I found that to be like the perfect Marshall, kind of modded Marshall sound. It didn't have too much brightness on the top end. It was really tight but still bright, and it translated really well through my PA. So I went to a Kemper a few years back. I thought this was going to be the answer to everything, right? I modeled, profiled a bunch of killer amps, and that was really fun to do. And came up with some great sounds. And then I plugged them into my PA and they sounded like crap. And I was like, what did I do wrong? I'm using studio monitors to do it. I'm cranking it up pretty loud so that the volume is going to be similar to what I'm going to hear live. And of course the EQ is all off. So that happens to, we all know that's a problem that you're going to have trying to translate from a speaker system to a PA, and that's a problem. I didn't have that problem with the XT, I think because I got forced into using it one night. And I had to use it on a gig when my head went down. And this is actually when I had another Line 6 head. I had the Bogner one with the models, and I blew a tube or something. And so I ended up having to use my XT. And when I did, people were going, wow, that sounded really good. Almost sounded better than the head. And I was like, wow, maybe I should check that out. So I went out front, and sure enough, I was really impressed with what was going on. And that's when I made my transition to direct guitar, or at least mostly direct guitar with some bleed coming off an amp off the stage, off the amp out. So anyway, that's been my history. And so I got the Kemper. It didn't translate. Kemper, as I went to NAMM every year, I would ask them if they were going to come out with a pedal, to control it other than, say, a MIDI pedal. And, I've been on the ADA MIDI pedal forever. And then now I was on a Line 6 shortboard with Cat 5, and I was spoiled Seriously, Line 6 spoiled the crap out of me with the Cat 5 cable, and I expected Kemper to come along as a modern, unit to have that. And eventually, a couple of years later, they did, but not before I sold the unit because I didn't want to deal with MIDI, period. So they just, and they didn't, you know what? They just were not very responsive to me, or they didn't seem like they gave a crap what I wanted, and they were just not very friendly, So I love the product. I love what it can do, and I really thought that it did exactly what it said when you're profiling it. Just killed that. And I would have kept it if I had a pedal to use it live and I had to just, come up with some other solution until they came out with something. So anyway, now they have a pedal board version of it. So a little too late with Kemper. So, and then their attitude, I just didn't want to work with them. And so anyway, I went on with my X3, continued to do what I loved. And then, Pod comes out with the Helix and the Pod Go and all that around with the Kemper. And the Helix, I knew immediately didn't have the model that I normally used, which is the Spinal Puppet thing. So I knew I wasn't going to be able to get that immediately. I'd have to go digging through whatever they had and hopefully find something that satisfied me the same way. Okay, so then I just decided not to do that. So then we went to NAMM last year, and the Pod Go came out, and I got a chance to play through it and found the Friedman BE model, which I use a Friedman small box as well when I'm not using my modeler, whenever I'm using a 412. And so I listened to it in headphones, pretty impressed, thought it would work, the sound I could use. If not, there was not another one. I even spoke to Paul Hildermarsh at the NAMM show about Spinal Puppet, and he mentioned that there was a model that they used where they kind of copied that too. I think it was the Badonk model. I'm not 100% sure, but whenever I tried to, play around with different models, that seems like the one that's closest. So I get close. I got everything pretty close. I'm still tweaking, but I'm 3 weeks in. I'm still tweaking. So everybody that reviews Line 6 knows that the biggest problem with it is getting it to be what you want it to be. And there's not enough, to me, there's not enough presets that I could just use immediately on stage. It'd be nice if they were balanced too, like, having a clean, a crunch, and a lead that were balanced, already balanced would be nice. Instead of you having to do all that. There's just so much work that has to be done to get the Pod products to be playable on stage. And it's taken me a month to even get close. And again, I go out this weekend and I'm adjusting. I have in-ears in it, and I'm trying to make that work. And I got close. My effects were pretty good. My sounds were close. Everything was getting closer. But again, it's taken me a long, long time to do that. So that's my biggest thing with Pod. I never really feel like I can get, right out of the gate with it. I guess I shouldn't expect that, and in a perfect world, that would be the thing, right? Or if there was a way to clone the sound that I've been using, and I mean really clone it. I'm sure there's ways I can do that with frequency matching, maybe. Anyway,